Hello, Stroud Against Racism. I'm Gary Huskisson, also admin at SAR and also co-founder at Say It Louder. We've got Stroud Against Racism and Say It Louder are partnering in lots of events, wanting to change things for the better. But I'd like to have a little bit conversation with one of the admins of Stroud Against Racism, Nabella. Is that how I say it? Nabella. Please, excuse me. Let's head up and pronounce your name properly.
Nabella Akhtar.
Nabella Akhtar. It's quite regal, that, isn't it? Nabella Akhtar. You know, I can't wait till you're on an awards show and I'll be going, the next prize will go to Nabella Akhtar. Brilliant. Nabella is, as Stroud is, I think I looked on this morning's page, she's already put about 6 posts. She's the ultimate person of stoking the fire in each other, of getting us the knowledge we need about activism. So Nabella, hi. In simple words, how would you describe yourself? How would you like to be described?
How would I like to be described? To be honest, I don't really want to be described. I'd like to think that the stuff I do, it gets the focus and speaks for itself. And that is what is important to me. I'm less comfortable when it comes to being up front.
So would you describe yourself more as an activist or as a good person?
I think I care about social injustice. I care about equality and equity, and it goes beyond race. I care about marginalized people, and I care about standing up for what's right. And so sometimes that will take the form of activism, or campaigning, or just communicating messages around these things and encouraging conversation. But I think I've always done it. I was a tiny kid doing it, so I don't know that I would have called myself an activist back then. So now I feel like other people might call me an activist. Okay. To me, it's just doing my thing, doing me.
Just a personal interest. Are you the one who stuck up to the class bully?
Say that again?
Just as a personal interest, are you the one who stuck up against the class bully?
Yeah, they did try to bully me. They didn't have much success. I might have broken them. There might be a class bully wandering the world broken.
I can surely
imagine. That was me.
I can surely imagine. All right. What does Stroud Against Racism mean to you?
Well, for me, Stroud Against Racism, my involvement in it is connected to wider Gloucestershire and people learning and understanding the different ways we're marginalised and getting in the fight, because it is a fight a lot of the time, to stop dehumanising each other and recognising the prejudice and the barriers that we've seen year on year for so many hundreds of years, and changing that and having Gloucestershire, Stroud become more inclusive, more diverse, more valuing of others, not othering people, because maybe, that's all our systems and norms teach us to do.
Okay. So what would you consider, because there's 2 words which get branded so much by everyone, inclusivity and diversity.
Sorry,
there's 2 words which get branded seemingly more flippantly every week. So inclusivity and diversity, what do they mean? What do those 2 separate entities, and which one's more important to you? There is no right or wrong answer.
I think it's inclusivity and solidarity. Those are the words I would use. So inclusivity, solidarity, allyship, crossing, not just having these words be jargon, having them have a deeper meaning, because they are used so much now, and making sure there's substance behind them.
Okay. So, right, what do you think, when you have a passion for something and you want the world to embrace it, do you think anyone could be an activist?
Yes, I don't think there's any kind of limit on that. I think it's a case of individuals realizing that even when they're most disempowered, even if they're most marginalized, and it doesn't have to be connected to race, they still have so much power, and that can be lost and ground down, but it doesn't go. You just have to be able to recognize it and start utilizing it. And it can be small or big ways.
Okay. So what's the smallest, give an example of what's the smallest somebody can do to empower an individual? Where stuff we see at 5 o'clock on the news is a lot different, and so we're aware we've got social media. What can the individual do? Because a lot of people think, oh, won't let them get involved. Others might think the government, they aren't been elected to make those sort of decisions, or they're saying, I don't really think that's me, or I don't want to get involved in trouble. So what do you think the smallest someone can do?
I think one of the smallest things you can do is actually just say it, even if you don't believe it has the power here, even if you don't think it can make a difference. Say those things, say them out loud, bring them onto your feeds if you're on social media, bring them into real life conversations, asking questions. These are all little things, and they don't have to be done with, while you're feeling empowered or powerful, but they are part of being better, and they can be tiny, tiny things, but just not looking away and engaging.
Okay. One of the things I always like, and I did it this morning, I like about your post and what follows afterwards is what I call real people asking questions. Asking questions some of us might thought were quite obvious or not. Can you give us an example of that?
Yeah, I put a post on about the weather, and Brits, we have a habit of grumbling when it's hot, when it's cold. We have some kind of Olympic medal in grumbling about the weather, whatever it is. And somebody commented that, isn't this racist? Now, it was a kind of a meme type image, and I'm also a Brit amongst my other, qualities. And it's an underlying truth, pretty much, that who hasn't heard one of us grumbling about the weather? There was no racial element there, but they asked that question. And so I just went, what do you mean by that? Because,
Yeah, I know. I know from my own experience, and I'm fascinated the questions people ask nowadays, which I get embroiled in and passionate with, thinking that everybody knows. And one question I got recently, we're coming on to this event on the 29th called Woman to Woman, is why do we look at issues related to Black mental health and extend that version to women mental health? I had these from people I look up to that ask me, why isn't that more racist? Separating, can't.
Oh,
yeah. So what's your view about it?
Well, I picked the example I did because it was a really innocuous one, where you think no one could draw any kind of, you know,
Yeah.
nonsense or bizarre thinking from it. It's just a silly, funny comment on the way we are. But someone did. So when we go into specifics, our world is so primed to not think about certain people, and often this is black people and brown people, is so primed to think on white experiences and white people and to demonize black and brown, that sometimes the notion of quality and equity, about talking about, something that isn't so the norm, can be seen as taking something away from white people, or that it's somehow biased against them, or it's some kind of discrimination, when actually all it is shining a light on where light isn't shone, and those underrepresented, marginalized people, on experiences that aren't valued. And it says a lot about our systems and how effective they are at, sending this message that excludes, that people will see that and call it something else, will see it as somehow discriminatory, about language like positive discrimination, that I'm pretty sure a lot of people I see using them, they don't understand what it means. All it is representation. It isn't replacing, it isn't not representing others, but that's where people go. And so I think it's something we need to be working on to change. But there is no question, we have to represent what is underrepresented, marginalized, because how else is it going to get any better?
Yeah, I was listening to you there, and I think what you empowered me to, just listening to you there, is that subjects we all get rattled, harassed by, and get past it and soak down the fire. So that is that you give so much hope, and I love that. I love that phrase you use. Something rising. Something I just have someone pass me a drink, and I've just thrown my mind. But you just gave that bit. I love the way you generate a conversation about a subject which involves passion, but you just give hope and it engages. So that's brilliant what you did, what you said there. Just a couple of, well, two more sort of questions. This is really enlightening. Stroud and Gloucestershire, and I think the whole nation is really glad to have you, and what you and the rest of the admin team have done with Stroud Against Racism is literally put Stroud on the map in relation to context where it has this imagery of being very Stepworth wife. It's very pre. So thank you to you and your colleagues, Shelley, Polly, for all what you're doing. If you had a message for everybody if this was your point, you're now on the Gloucestershire, Stroud, you are to the whole of your county and town, what be the one message but the one sort of action you would love to change?
Yeah, I think getting involved. We all need to recognize that we're involved whether we think we are or not, and choosing to be involved as a deliberate choice, and thinking on how we are involved on these issues is a thing, because Stroud Against Racism is against racism, but it's also against all sorts of forms of marginalization. It's for all sorts of marginalized people, and it's an evolving thing where we're hopefully going to keep getting better at representing different intersections, different people. And I think just getting people to slow it right down, those habits, that reactivity, that defensiveness, that thinking we've all been primed to do, and actually listening and choosing to be involved in a way that recognizes we all have power here. We all have power to change things. We're all going to get things wrong sometimes, but that defensive block, it just digs yourself a hole and it traps you.
Brilliant.
And
just a succinct answer following on that.
we're back.
Hi, Nabella. It seems that Gary's Zoom link has dropped out, so I'm not quite sure what's happening there. So,
I'll say something about what we were talking about until he's back.
Yeah,
So with the getting involved, I think one of the things is with Gloucestershire, it has had a quite different history on these situations, on race, on marginalised people, than a lot of other bits of the country compared to bigger cities. It has a long way to go to grow, evolve, be better, and getting involved is really important. Having conversations with schools, with workplaces about where's the representation? Why aren't we doing this? Are we bringing syllabuses that reflect the histories and not just the white histories? That we are presenting truth to, the young people as they're in school, as they're in college. Truth about our history is not just what we want to believe, that we're not drifting into something where, for example, our current government has tried to say that we should have a day that's talking about one nation and singing a song that sounds awfully creepy and Nazi-like, to be honest, and not doing that. But instead, it also had a great way of excluding, because they chose a day that Scottish schools and a lot of Welsh schools are already closed. And so we need to watch out for the discrepancies where people are giving us mixed messages and pick out the fact that, there's a lot of dishonesty and lying around. And, nobody's always going to be honest with us and real with us. And we need to watch out for that, pick it apart and make sure that we're not falling for it, because they will make mugs of us all.
What do you think about Dawn Butler and her standing up in Parliament and saying Boris Johnson is a liar and getting kicked out, and now following on with a campaign for honesty in Parliament? Do you think that will help to change the lying landscape, so to speak?
Well, I think Dawn Butler, she was an activist, and as an MP, she still holds that position. I think she hasn't lost sight of the roots of why she got into this work, what she's about. She always brings it back to the hurt that is happening to different sections of the public, not just Black people, brown people, but you have LGBTQI, you have white people living in poverty, you have incredible child poverty, and we have a government that completely holds all that in contempt and doesn't care and gaslights and blames different sections of the population. And you're talking about Parliament as a place where we have a speaker who will say, will admonish the PM for his behavior and not actually do anything. And I don't see a day where the PM has been asked to leave Parliament for lying, and he's blatantly doing it. We all see it. The Speaker knows he's lying. The rest of Parliament knows he's lying. But instead of doing anything, we double down on denying it or pretending that it's acceptable because of his position of power or something. And Dawn Butler told the truth. She brought receipts. She stated the facts, the realities of the situation, so many things he's lied about. Now, she couldn't cover all the things he's lied about, but she covered a fair whack, and she said, he's a liar. We all know he's a liar. And she's asked to leave Parliament if she doesn't apologise, then she's asked to leave. That is unacceptable. It is important that we have more MPs, more people speaking up on this, because otherwise, Parliament becomes this irrelevance. Yes, people watch PMQs and are glad to see, the government challenged on things, but if there's nothing happening wider than that, it becomes moot. What she said, I think anyone can relate to. She talks in a way that is loaded with passion and truth, and I think speaks to everyone. And so many people are having this experience of feeling failed, businesses going bust, people losing jobs, people dying, people mourning those they've lost, the sleaze and the corruption, and it's taking power from the people, all the people, in all these different ways. It isn't okay. And also, yesterday, I noticed there'd been an investigation, the results of which were released, where these MPs, a number of them, had tried to influence a judge relating to a particular colleague, Natalie Elphick's husband, who was convicted of 2 counts of sexual assault, I believe. And they had written to the judge trying to influence the case and also trying to do more than that. And they had this investigation, and what are the consequences of it? Oh, some of you are suspended from Parliament for 1 whole day. Like, that's a day off. Oh, how dreadful. I'm really going to feel bad about that and have consequences and have a deterrent. Or, is this what we consider justice? That MPs can just break the law and there is no criminal prosecution, there is no greater action. And quite a few of those MPs, by the way, weren't even given the 1-day suspension. They were told to apologize. And a bunch of them gathered together and wrote a letter denying they'd done any such thing. Now, there is no question that they did this thing. The letters are right there to the judges. The judges have spoken on this. The Chief Justice spoke on this. This investigation, which is parliamentary, also confirmed this. And they're allowed to do that and lie and lie and lie, and there will be 0 consequences. And yet this whole country is suffering in all kinds of ways. And they're suffering consequences of having a corrupt, greedy, selfish government who is hurting and dividing them and then tells them to hate somebody else. We can't be falling for this nonsense. We can't be letting them make mugs of us. We all need to be realizing that we have a lot of power when we use our voices, when we stop letting the division conquer us, when we realize that actually the other people they're attacking, we have a lot in common with them. And if we want to have better, we're going to have to start connecting and creating communities that are aware and don't let someone just hate this person and go and hate them and be distracted from how all these people are taking our rights, are screwing us over in every which way. I mean, you saw it with Marcus Rashford. I mean, free school meals, they have never apologized. And there were MPs saying things like that, oh, we can't give them free school vouchers because they'll swap them for drugs at crack dens, and we'll swap them for something at a brothel. There was a woman MP when these businesses around the country were trying to give what they could to help children be fed. She was saying that if you can afford to do that, you don't need furlough. You don't need our help. We're not going to be helping you. She did this on Facebook. You rarely see this mentioned now, do you, in the press? And we need to keep our eyes on the ball here. This is who we're dealing with. The kind of toxic people who will hurt anybody, children, adults. They will take our healthcare. They will take anything and everything that most of us don't have the luxury of having expenses and getting, a subsidized breakfast and so on, and paid regular rises and so on. They know what they're doing, and we have to stop it.
Nabella, you're a powerhouse, and we wish everyone with your voice, and Stroud against racism and all the, if you don't really understand or you got a hard notion what Nabella and protecting marginalised people is now, you just got to hear what you just said. And it's often we feel disempowered as never as before, in the last 2 years and all the events, we've never felt more disempowered. I'll go back as further as back as that. And we're suffering with incorrect information, and the government obviously thinks that we cannot handle the truth. And we had this thing with Dawn Butler, MP, expelled because she called Mr. Johnson a liar, that he wasn't giving us the truth, even though, as we said, it obviously wasn't the truth. On Thursday, we're going to have the truth by for 5 black women more. And what are you looking forward to the back handling the truth, Nabella, on that day?
A few of the voices I've not heard before, but I know that whenever I hear Catrice Greer's, she makes me feel empowered and she makes me feel seen, and I feel like she does that for a lot of people. This graceful, beautiful, powerful writing and the way she delivers it from the heart and with clarity.
So the truth, I would stress, even though that everybody is a great writer and a great poet, but that's only a little part of them. That it's 5 women of colour whose daily life is affected by trauma of their colour.
Yeah,
and that's the truth. It's a vice president of the USA once called, "We don't want to hear the inconvenient truth. We can't handle the truth. Truth matters." It's all statements about the truth, but a lot of the time, especially in relation to women and women of colour, the truth. We saw the truth come out a lot in the so-called George Floyd. People close to us didn't. Does that really happen to you? And it's so on Thursday, 29th, in partnership with Say It Louder, Stroud, and some other organisations, there will be Catrice Greer, who's created an event, Kimberly Johnson from Virginia, a woman of extremes, and she will tell about her mental health trauma. Red Medusa, a philosopher, a psychologist, a model, and a poet, and a mother, and Hazel Mehmet, once again. And we're really lucky. Introducing to England for the first time is Stacey Darson, who regularly gets audiences in America, up and down the country, of thousands filling auditoriums. This will be we're starting part of the series, Can't Get Out of Our Head, the mental health traumas. And this is what the government's truth never forgets, to tell about the real truth. We're starting with women because it's women who don't never get heard. Do you agree, Nabella?
Yeah, I think especially black women, they're not heard, they're not seen as feeling things, like, they're not seen as, their pain is glossed over. So you've got a wonderful group of women who are going to be speaking some truth, doing some real talk, showing empathy for others, and join the conversation.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
I'm just going to have one closing phrase, is please come along. It's going to be on Facebook Live. There's going to be an after event on Insta Live, with some more special guest VIPs from all over the world attending, which the links will be on Stroud Against Racism, Say It Louder. This has been given to me by Nabella. I just think she's been absolutely brilliant. we did discuss a green. You don't have to match us on the day. But I wanted to like sort of end with a positive phrase, and is people often say, "Oh, I don't want to get involved in politics," because we live in this planet. We are involved in politics, and we all have a high. I would say the injustices we seek to overcome, though have gone for hundreds of years. People who don't handle the truth, people who feed on injustices, is still the minority. And that's why we must, even if it's just signing a petition, saying no, making our own little protest, we are the majority. But unfortunately, this majority, we're very quiet. I love my voice. Thank you for this time. Thank you, Stroud against racism. And I'm just going to leave you with the awesome, inspiring. I don't want her to be my MP. I want her to be my Prime Minister. Just so I can make her laugh. It'd be so brilliant. You can see him on Prime Minister question times. Prime Minister, have you been swimming lately? Anyway, last word from Nabella.
Just thank you, Gary, for having me on and for always being, I don't know, a great friend to anybody who's working on these causes and for, you know, marginalized people against racism. And I hope, you know, people who maybe don't always feel like they get it, do step up, small ways, big, whatever you can. You don't have to do it all at once. You can learn and you can do things to be part of giving us something better. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All Australia. Thank you to Polly for doing all the technical bits I can't do. And thank you, Australia Against Racism, for all your support. Thank you to everybody, and look forward to seeing you or hearing you on the 29th. Thank you.